It is Friday here on Armchair Analysis, which means it is take 10 time, especially now that we are at week zero. Week zero is tomorrow. We are well, less than 24 hours away as we stand right now. When you see this, probably be closer to about 18 hours away, which is awesome. We are really pushing for the beginning of college football season. And today, again, take 10 returns. Those of you who don't know about that, we'll talk a little bit more about it. I'll explain to you what that means, what that looks like. We'll bring that all around. We also got my college football road trip, meaning if I had no money, no, sorry, if I had no money, essentially what I have. No, but if money was no object, if money couldn't hinder this trip, what would I do every week throughout the college football season this year? I'm really excited to talk about it. I'm really excited to get through that list as well, going through every single week. We've also got some news. SEC conference schedule has changed. What changed? We'll talk a little bit about that. We also have the Pat Fitzgerald Northwestern settlement that we will talk about. And then some quarterback battles. Yeah, I want to talk about some quarterback battles that happened and have gone through their trials and what we are knowing and what we're learning out of camps all throughout the country. Missouri fans, I got something for you. Don't you worry. So, yeah, make sure you stick around. If you're new around here, leave a like, subscribe, comment down below. Especially subscribe. We're trying to hit 200 subscribers. We're not going to hit it by week zero. That's unfortunate, but we're going to keep pushing. We are here every single day, 7 days a week now, throughout the entirety of the college football season. Tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., we are going to be live for about 30 minutes, just a kind of a dry run through what our typical weekly coverage is going to look like on Saturdays. Sunday, we'll be doing the same thing, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. We'll be live for another show. Make sure you guys stick around. Make sure y'all tune in and chat with us. We are here. It's going to be me, my good friend BJ Loudermilk. We're going to come in here. We're going to talk about all the recent news. We're going to talk about the upcoming season. We're going to give his predictions and preview, as well as some of my own previews and predictions we haven't talked about yet. We got a lot to talk about tomorrow, so make sure y'all tune in live, again, 10 a.m. Eastern Time here on Armchair Analysis. With all that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about what we're here for, which is the college football season is here. Week zero, which means take 10 is here. Again, I talked about that. That's going to be at the end of the show. We will go through my 10 picks for the week, or for the season in some cases. I have 2 game picks and then 8 win total over-unders that we're going to take as well. Really excited to get through those and excited to share that with you. But let's go ahead and start with my college football road trip, because this is my favorite segment of the year, and I want to break it up a little bit. I don't want to have the big stuff hitting at the end. So we're going to start with my college football road trip. Again, if money was no object, what would I do for every single week of the college football season? And with that said, to me, it made a lot of sense to kind of, we did this a couple years ago. The group of us did. That time we did a draft. This year, I'm telling you what I would do every single week of the season. From week 1 all the way to week 14, but I'm obviously including one game at the end, because we all know that no college football road trip will be complete week to week without it at the end. So we're going to talk about that and go through it. So starting with week 1, my game that I would be going to next weekend, if I had any say in it, if somebody sponsored me to do it, if I didn't have to worry about financial situation, where would I go? Next week, I would be going to Clemson to watch Clemson and LSU. That's going to come as a surprise to some people, but here's why I say what I say here. And when I started this, I really thought this, and I still believe it. My opportunities to see Texas and Ohio State are plentiful. There are going to be so many games that I can fit Ohio State and Texas into my schedule, as will everybody else try. So why would I oversaturate? Now I looked into Notre Dame and Miami. If I wanted to do 2 because it's 2 different days, I could certainly make that happen. But what I would do, I would go to Clemson to watch the Tigers, both Tigers, face off in Death Valley. The Clemson edition of Death Valley. That's going to be a really fun game. Cade Klubnik versus Garrett Nussmeier, 2 Heisman hopefuls, 2 guys who are looking to lead their teams to really national championship contention this year. And obviously, I'm very high on Clemson. You guys know that they're my national championship pick. This is the game that's going to prove everything. LSU in week 1, we've had that storyline for how long now? But Clemson is really looking the part. They come out in week 1 and they handle business. They take care of business at home. They're setting the table to run it because there aren't many teams on this schedule that are going to be able to hang and beat them throughout the course of 12. Clemson LSU is a big time matchup in week 1. That's a game that I think is really getting overlooked because of Notre Dame, Miami, and Ohio State and Texas. But this game certainly is going to foot the bill and fit the bill of a 7:30 p.m. on ABC game. Week 2, I'm going to go to Michigan at Oklahoma. I'm going to go to Norman, and that's a big deal because there's a lot of new on both sides. It's Chip Lindsey getting his first opportunity to show Michigan fans what he's all about. Bryce Underwood getting the chance to show Michigan fans what he's going to be. This Michigan offense really gets a chance to show what they can be in 2025. The Michigan defense we trust. The Oklahoma defense we trust. But the Oklahoma offense, we don't really know. We love Ben Arbuckle here on the show. We also really like John Mateer. What can those two teams and offenses prove to us early in the season? It's going to be a heavyweight battle. I'm looking at the under in this game already. I don't know what it's going to be, but I'm looking at it. This is a big deal of a football game. Michigan, Oklahoma, the obvious pick for week 2. Week 3, we're going back to LSU quicker than I thought we would. Florida at LSU. Now, this is an early season game that determines a lot of playoff hopes here, I think, and certainly sets a tone. If Florida goes in to Baton Rouge and beats LSU, LSU is going to walk out of the first 3 weeks of the season with 2 losses. That is not a good sign. Now, if they can walk out of there 2-1, they're going to be okay. But if Florida walks in and hands LSU a loss, just imagine that. Put yourself in that perspective for a minute. Florida walks in and hands LSU a loss, assuming they lose to Clemson, or if they don't really, however you want to assume it. What does that say about Florida and what does that say about LSU? Now, I'm very high on both of these teams. I think they both make the college football playoff. But Florida is a team that I think certainly puts themselves in a higher standing and a little bit more, it gives a lot of people more confidence in what they can do and what they can be this year if they go and win that game over in Baton Rouge. That's going to be a big deal. Again, DJ Lagway and Garrett Nussmeier, 2 Conference Player of the Year hopefuls, 2 Heisman hopefuls themselves. That's a really big matchup in week 3, early for the SEC slate. Week 4, I'm going out to Rice-Eccles. I'm going to watch Texas Tech face Utah. Texas teams have struggled in the elevation of Utah. They've struggled to go out to Salt Lake City and compete. Well, they've competed, but they've struggled to win in Salt Lake City. This is an opportunity early in the year. Texas Tech's got to put their money where their mouth is because, well, that's what they've done. They've put their money out there. Now they got to go show that money was well spent. This is a big deal here because on the other side, you're looking at Utah, Jason Beck, Devin Dampier. This offense is supposed to be so much better, so much more improved. We trust Utah's defense, think they're going to be really good. Texas Tech's defense gave up 30-plus points per game last year. I think it was 34 points per game last year. This is a really early test for Texas Tech to prove that they made the necessary adjustments to be a conference championship contender and also a college football playoff and even maybe a national championship contender if they are as good as things say. Obviously, the injury last week to Quentin Joyner makes a little bit of a difference. But this Texas Tech team isn't just based around a running back. They are based around their defensive changes and the moves they made on offense and what they look like post Zach Kittley as the offensive coordinator. Moving on to week 5, I got Oregon at Penn State. This is whiteout. Need I say more? I mean, this is a whiteout game. This is going to be the first opportunity to see Dante Moore in a challenging environment as the Oregon quarterback and under Will Stein. Can Oregon go in there and hang around? Can Oregon maybe even win that game, or does Penn State shut them down? It is whiteout, of course. That's a tough game to go win. But can Penn State shut down this Oregon offense and kind of give the blueprint to a lot of teams on what they need to do? Week 6, I'm going to get a little group of 5 love in here, kind of, sort of. Boise State at Notre Dame. Why is that an interesting game to me? Really just is. I think that's the first meeting all time between these two schools, and Boise State, of course, is looking to be a playoff hopeful. Well, if Boise State's looking to prove that they've made the improvements necessary to not only make the playoffs again, but also compete in the playoffs this time around, this is going to be the place they need to do it. They're going to play a tough game against Notre Dame on the road in oh man, why did I mess that up? In Notre Dame Stadium in South Bend. It's going to be interesting to watch. I'm certainly keeping my eyes on this game because it's going to tell me a lot. It's going to tell me what I need to know about Boise, and it's going to tell me what I need to know about Notre Dame, I think, in a lot of ways. Moving on to week 7, Oklahoma, Texas. This is going to be a really fun game. Two offenses that I think are going to be clicking by this time. Arch Manning, John Mateer. Again, I can't state how high I am on both of these guys, what I expect from both of these guys. But both of these teams, I think, have playoff aspirations. This game puts a team maybe a leg up because I think Oklahoma can walk in this game undefeated the same way Texas could. Very, very big game over there in the Cotton Bowl later this year in week 7. In week 8, we're going to follow it up. We're going to see how Oklahoma follows it up by going on the road to South Carolina. Now, this game is on here for a couple of reasons. One, because I think it's going to be a really good football game. But two, I'm likely going to be here myself. And with that being said, it has to be on here because if I'm actually going to the game, if I know already I'm going to the game, got to put it on there. Oklahoma at South Carolina could be a game of the year candidate at this time of the season. Week number 9 is going to be a little interesting, but I'm going to go with Illinois at Washington. This is two teams that look to have some playoff aspirations. And I think at this time in the year, it's going to be maybe a second or a third loss facing the chute at Washington and or Illinois. Washington plays early in the season Ohio State. It's going to tell us a lot about what they really can be in that week 4 matchup in Seattle. If Washington pulls the upset, which is not out of the question, I've circled that game as possible. But if they even hang around, they go and they beat this Illinois team, they don't have a light road, but they have a decent enough road that they might just be able to make their way and sneak their way into the playoffs. This Washington team is dangerous, and people talk about Illinois a lot as a sleeper, especially early in the non-playing season, as I call it. Washington is a team that, as I've looked harder, this is last year's Indiana if we're going to see it. This is a really good football team, really good quarterback. I like DeMond Williams. This game has some playoff, hopes kind of hanging in the balance on it. Moving on to week 10, I got Penn State at Ohio State. This is obviously, I think this is going to be a top 10 matchup by the time we sit here, and it might even be a top 5 matchup by the time we get to it. I have predicted Ohio State to win this game, but it's going to be a lot of fun, and we don't really know what Julian Saban's going to be. We expect good things because he's been named the quarterback at Ohio State, but we don't rightly know, and I think that that's the one thing that we're just waiting and seeing on. And I'm not hating on the kid. I actually think he's a really good quarterback. I'm expecting good things out of Julian Saban, but he's unproven. Penn State has a proven roster, top to bottom, proven roster, which I think gives Penn State a bit of an edge, especially if their wide receiver room is in the shape that we expect them to be in. This game is going to be a lot of fun, a really big one, a huge matchup going forward, and kind of determines maybe the front runner in the Big Ten. Moving on to week 11, we're going G5 again. Texas State at Louisiana. This might determine the Sun Belt West. I'm very high on Louisiana. I, as a matter of fact, have them making the conference championship in the Sun Belt. I really like Walker Howard. I like what Michael DeSormo has done for this Louisiana team. And I just have this gut feeling that they are going to be in the conversation all the way through the season. I like Texas State. I'm a big fan of G.J. Kinney. I've been very vocal about that since he was hired there. I think Texas State's going to be really good, but I just love this matchup, especially the fact that it is in Louisiana out there in Lafayette. That's going to be a big-time football game. Moving on to week 12, I got Texas at Georgia. That's best of the best. That's another top 5 matchup right there. And certainly we don't know what Gunnar Stockton will be. We know what we can expect. We saw him play, and he played pretty well in the playoff game against Notre Dame. It wasn't good enough, but that was his first start. This is his first season to start. By this time, we're going to have a pretty good idea of what he's going to be. Same thing with Arch Manning. Same thing with this Texas and Georgia teams as a whole. Will Georgia correct the dropping issues at wide receiver or in the receiving game? Will Georgia have the playmaker they expect with Zachariah Branch? We will find a lot of things out by this time in the season. Week 13, I'm going Duke and North Carolina. I think this game has some potential to carry some weight in the ACC championship conversation, especially with a Duke win. This game's being played in Chapel Hill. If Duke goes and wins this game, I think we're talking about Duke maybe sneaking their way into the ACC title in Charlotte. Same thing with North Carolina. I think both these teams are going to be really good at this point in the year, really have their things figured out. Again, we're talking Bill Belichick, Manny Diaz, who's done a great job of upholding and maybe even bettering this Duke roster from what it was with Mike Elko just a couple years ago. Going to be a fun game. I'm excited for this one already, even though I know it's in late November. Still excited for this game. Week 14. You think I'm going to go Ohio State, Michigan? You think I'm going to go South Carolina, Clemson? I'm going to Oregon and Washington. I think this game is going to actually determine a playoff spot. I think this game, I'm going to say it one more time, I think this game is going to determine a college football playoff spot. The winner of this game will make it. The loser of this game will go home. I don't know what it is about this Washington team that has drawn me to it. I don't know if it's Ryan Walters being the defensive coordinator. I don't know if it's the fact that I like what Jed Fish has done and what Damon Williams was starting to turn into last year. If this team can keep themselves together, if this defense can play just a little bit better this year, this is a team that can go and win 10 games. They might even be able to go win 11, but I could certainly see a 10-win season for them. In this game where they are hosting Oregon, if Dante Moore struggles under the lights, under the pressure of a big game, and we will see it earlier. Remember, I picked Penn State and Oregon, that game in Happy Valley. We're going to see it bright and early in the season. Dante Moore and his ability to go on the road into a tough environment and manage this offense and be able to control a game. If he can't do that throughout the course of the year, this game is upset city. Washington might walk into it favored. Really like what Washington can be. I like what Oregon can be. I predicted them to be 11-1 and in the playoffs. But I'm just telling you that there is a chance and there is a world where that doesn't happen for Oregon and where Washington can come into this game and steal a playoff spot. Week 15 is Conference Championship week. I'm not going to pick that because depends on what the matchup is. If I were to guess, I'd probably go to the Big Ten title game, but I might go to SEC. If it's Texas and Georgia again, I've already seen that game, so I might go to the Big Ten title game for a different matchup. But who knows? I don't pick that because I don't know. Week 16, though, Army Navy. We would go to Army Navy every year if we could. Go Navy, beat Army as always. I would be going as a pure fan of the sport and a pure fan of the Navy midshipmen, but it would be a fun time no less. So that's what I would do if I had my choice to go to any college football game I wanted every week. That's what I would do this year as of Friday, August 22nd, 2025, the day before week 0, the day before kickoff eve, as we may call it around here. With that said, let's go ahead and talk about some news here, though, in the college football season. Make sure you let me know what you guys think. Let me know if there's some games I may have skipped out on or missed out on. I don't want to hear Ohio State, Michigan. I don't want to hear South Carolina, Clemson. But I do want to hear some of the other ones I may have missed out on because I know those two. But those would have been homer picks for me. Like, I go to Carolina games. I go to Michigan, Ohio State, or I've been around that rivalry my entire life, being from the Columbus area. Figured I'd try something different this year. And normally I pick Ohio State, Michigan. But this year, there's just something about what might be on the line in Seattle in Week 14. So again, let me know what you guys think. But let's move on. Let's talk about some news here. The SEC has voted to adopt a 9-game conference schedule. Why is this the case? Well, in the words of a lot of people, and Greg Sankey specifically, from what I heard with his conversation with Paul Feinbaum, it's to shut the Big Ten up. It's to shut Kurt Signiti up. Not a bad call if you're going to do it. Look, I think this is the obvious move, right? For everybody to want to be on an equal playing field, especially these two conferences who seemingly want so much more than the rest of the Power Four, you have to be on a level playing field. And when you have two conferences that are relatively similar in depth, you have to have a similar playing field on conference schedule. You have to have a similar playing field on non-conference schedule. And all that stuff is going to matter. Indiana, I'm telling you, is going to get bit by the fact that they have taken away all of their tougher games. They took away that Louisville games. They took away their games against Virginia, I think it was. Like, Indiana is going to get bit at some point by their lack of strength of schedule the exact same way that Miami did last year, the exact same way that some would say that even Missouri got bit by their strength of schedule last year. Remember, they were a 10-win team last year, but it's because they did not have as tough of a schedule as some of the others around them, that they weren't even considered for the college football playoff. They weren't even in the first four out. That right there is why I think the scheduling is important. I think going to 9 games matters. At the end of the day, this is a game that everybody's trying to play to find their seat at the college football playoff table, or the new college football playoff table, whatever that's going to look like, and whether it's 12 teams, 16, 24, 28, doesn't matter. Everybody's trying to find their seat at the table. So I think it's worth the time. I think it's worthwhile. It's certainly I think a point of contention for a lot of people and a lot of fans of the sport. But at the end of the day, that's just kind of the way that it goes, unfortunately, with that. The SEC going to 9 games, though, I think it's helpful. It's going to only give us more really good football games to watch, and it's just going to take away that pay to play game in the late part of the year. I think. I don't know. I can't say that for certain, but I think that's what's going to happen. Pat Fitzgerald and Northwestern have moved on to settle their lawsuit, and this is obviously Pat Fitzgerald saying that he was wrongfully terminated by the university after what had come out, and to my recollection, I did not look up the thing, and I should have, but to my recollection, like a hazing lawsuit that had come out, and that's why he was fired. And Northwestern decided to settle, and now Pat Fitzgerald can now pursue other coaching opportunities because of that. Really not a lot for me to say. I felt really kind of neutral on it. I don't know how much I believe of either side of it personally. As somebody who gives their opinion, I feel bad that I can't give an opinion on this, but one thing I know is that Pat Fitzgerald's a tough coach. He's a defensive-minded coach. He was around at a time where everybody got coached tough, and sometimes things happen. That's kind of the way I feel about it, and so we'll see what happens. We'll see what goes forward. I'm sure Pat Fitzgerald's going to find himself coaching here in the near future. We've got some updates on quarterback battles. Columbia, Missouri. I'm looking at you, every one of you. Remember, the Missouri preview, I told you guys, I would not be surprised to see a quarterback battle go into the season. I would not be surprised if Sam Horn and or Matt Zollers could have made a case. Well, it seems as though Sam Horn has made at least a good enough case to get himself a split-time position with Bo Prabula in the Central Arkansas game in Week 1. What does that really mean? Well, it means that the battle certainly isn't over, and it means that there was more of a battle than I was made to be an idiot for saying there was. Look, I told you guys there was going to be a battle in the fall camp. I did not know it was going to go into the season. I certainly thought Prabula would have won, but what I said was I would not be surprised to see it happen, and that's exactly what happened. We are witnessing a quarterback battle for the Missouri Tigers. Prabula and Horn, again, going to split time in Week 1. We'll see where that ends up, but I can't see that going too far because, again, remember, they got an early season battle with Kansas. Kansas at least has their quarterback figured out. If you don't have somebody consistently in charge of this offense, it could create a problem in that game. Plain and simple. So that's going to be an interesting storyline to watch. We'll see who ends up winning that battle, but for right now, that is where we sit in Missouri. Malachi Nelson, former 5-star recruit, was last year at Boise State. He was famously or infamously beat out by Maddox Madsen for the quarterback position. Has been announced as a starter at quarterback for UTEP this year. That's going to be exciting. Scotty Walden is doing some good work. I think UTEP's going to be a pretty solid team this year. Then moving on, Barry Odom has named Ryan Brown to be his quarterback, starting quarterback in Week 1 for the Purdue Boilermakers. That's going to be a pretty exciting deal. I think Ryan Brown was certainly the guy for the job. It really never felt like there would be much of a battle, but it ended up being a little longer than we thought. Brown ultimately takes it, and will start again for the Boilermakers in Week 1. As I said we would update you on Jam Miller, and Jam Miller is expected to return by the Georgia game, which is Week 5, the final week of September. That is that could be a bit of a blow, but I don't believe the Alabama schedule is not one that I think is like this juggernaut, right? They play Florida State Week 1. That could be a little bit of a trouble spot. I'm not saying they're going to lose that game, but it could create problems for the offense. First year starting quarterback, you really want to rely on an experienced running back, and you miss that opportunity. I think Richard Young's going to be just fine. I've said that before, but understand that it could create a problem. It doesn't say it will. It could. Week 2, you're fine. Week 3, you face Wisconsin. That'll be a bit of an interesting game too, but I think they'll be able to manage and get through that as well. So then their next big matchup they need to be concerned with is Georgia. They get a bye week beforehand, so they'll play 3 games. I think they'll be all right. I think Jam Miller will be ready to go by then. And again, that's kind of what they're saying. I don't know if that means they're just going to let him take his time and rest and have him ready to go for that game, or if he's ready to go before that, then they'll let him play. I don't know. Hard to say. I have a hard time believing they will let him sit, depending upon how this Florida State game goes, knowing he will be out for that game. I have a hard time believing they'll let him sit for the whole time, but who knows? One thing I can tell you is I'm not in there, and I don't get privy to that information, unfortunately. So we're taking our best shot at it, what we think is going to happen, and we go with that. So it'll be interesting. Let me know what you guys think. And Alabama fans, are you a little bit more concerned knowing that Jam Miller is going to miss the first 3 games of the year, or expected to miss the first 3 games of the year? All right. Before we get to the final part of the show, which is a Take 10, just want to say again, thank you guys for tuning in, and please leave a like, subscribe. Subscribe specifically. We're trying to hit 200 subscribers, and we've got plenty of content coming your way. Tomorrow, again, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, we have our Week 0 preview show. Sunday at 10 a.m., we will have our Week 0 recap show. We'll go into Monday through Friday, which will be your typical pre-recorded content that is not live. And then Saturdays and Sundays at 10 a.m. every single week, we will have content for you guys, live content for you guys. So make sure you tune in. Make sure you turn on those notifications so you don't miss those live shows, because we'd love to have you guys in the chat talking back and forth, letting us know what you guys think. Even Missouri fans, I don't mind. I'm not mad. But no, we can have a lot of fun and enjoy the college football season here as a community. That's the whole point of Armchair Analysis. I just hope you guys will join me in that process. So thank you all for tuning in. Let's go ahead and move forward with our Take 10, my Take 10 here for the 2025 Week 0 slate. All right. Up here on your screen, you see everything. And this is how it's going to look every week, except it's not going to have a bunch of win totals. This is just a Week 0 special. You get the win totals on Week 0. Moving forward, you have Kansas State and Iowa State. I'm taking the under in that game. I think that game is going to be interesting because everybody kind of knows that Farmageddon is the game you take an under on a lot of times. What everyone also knows is that the Island game gets a little crazy. Sometimes we see a little bit more scoring or a little bit of a little bit more anomaly style games, right? What I will tell you is I don't think that's going to happen. I think this game is going to come down to 2 defenses that are really solid and 2 offenses that are trying to figure themselves out. I'm going to preview this game a little bit more tomorrow, again, on that live episode. But what I will say is that I think that Kansas State's going to have to figure out their run game and figure out if Dylan Edwards is truly that running back 1. Iowa State's going to have to figure out their passing game. I think that's going to be a little bit of a trouble spot early as they try to figure out this new receiving core. Both teams are going to be solid on defense. It's going to be a low-scoring game. I'm really pumped to watch this one tomorrow. Fresno State and Kansas State. Fresno State and Kansas. I'm taking the over 49.5. EJ Warner was just named the starter for Kansas State for Fresno State. Jesus, Fresno State. Matt Entz, first game as a head coach. He's gonna kind of just go for broke in it, I think. Kansas is looking their way to really prove a point, and I think it's going to start with Jalen Daniels being out there and trying to stay healthy. That's the biggest problem that Kansas has had. I think both these teams are going to score a little bit. I see the over 49.5 coming down the pipeline. I'm taking Florida over 7.5 wins. I'm very, very high on Florida. You guys know that. I have them in the playoff. This is a team that I think can probably get closer to 8 or 9, and I think that's probably where they land most confidently. I picked them to go 10-2 and make the playoff again. So that's where I sit there. Maryland under 4.5. I'm not high on Maryland. You guys know that. I had them going 2-10, winless in conference play. Things could change there, but for right now, that's where I sit. So Maryland under 4.5. Duke and Pitt. We'll talk two ACC teams. Both of them sit at 6.5. Both of these teams I think are better than 6.5. Two teams with solid defenses. Two teams with offensive pieces that I think are improving as we go. Eli Holstein's probably the biggest question mark of these two teams, given the fact that he is coming off the knee injury last year. How healthy is he? Can he stay healthy this year? If he does, I think Pitt goes over for sure. I think Pitt could start 9-0. I have them going 9-3, starting 9-0. They'll be interesting to watch. Duke, on the other hand, is a team I have going 9-3 just because I think they're good. And so both of those teams over on a 6.5. Baylor, I got over 7.5. It was a team that I mean, look, I have them in the playoff. I have them winning the Big 12. Baylor over 7.5 certainly feels like a lock to me. TCU is a team that I have going to the conference championship game. I certainly think over 6.5 is there for them as well. Florida Atlantic. I really like Zach Kitley as a head coach. I think he's going to do a really good job. I think Caden Veltkamp is going to do a really good job as a quarterback for this FAU team. I think they're going to score a lot of points. I think they're going to play some okay defense. I'm not saying they're going to be great, but I think they're making a bowl game at a minimum this year. I think they'll be the surprise of the American this year. Give me FAU over 4.5. And then we're going to go Sun Belt, Louisiana over 7.5. I think that Louisiana, led by Walker Howard, again, Michael DeSormo has improved every year as the coach there for the Raging Cajuns. I think they're going to be a really good team. I'm expecting them to play for a Sun Belt championship, as I said earlier, that I have them getting there. So Louisiana over 7.5. We'll keep track of this as the season goes on. The record will change based on, what we get to, but we take 10 every week. And so to get 10 this week, we had to do a little bit of digging and do some win totals. So those will come down the pipeline as the season goes on. So make sure you tune in, make sure you stick around and be here. We were 50. What was it? 54 and 46 last year in Take 10, which is not great, but we were above 500, and that was prior to me having an emergency surgery and ultimately not being able to continue stuff last year. This year, we're hoping that all the bad stuff is out of the way at this point in the year, and that we can get here, we can get through a full season, and I know we will. We are not being stopped by nothing this year, so make sure y'all stick around. Make sure y'all tune into the show and find our Take 10. You don't have to copy this, by the way. This is not me giving you betting advice. This is me telling you what I'm on this week. None of this is betting advice. If you need help, Google's your good friend for you. Look, there's a gambling hotline everywhere. I don't have all of them, and I'm not paid to for sponsorship from any of these places, so I'm not telling you where I'm going for any of this. But what I will tell you is that make sure you just do it responsibly. You gamble within your means if you're doing so. This is meant to be a hobby. It's meant to be fun. It's not meant to be life or death or whether or not you keep your house or not. And make sure that you keep that in mind. Make sure you keep your family in mind and those around you in mind as you're doing this. It is not something that you want to really play with your livelihood for. It's not worth it. I promise you, it ain't worth it. And there's plenty of gambling hotlines everywhere. Every state that allows it has one. And find your local one. If you or somebody you know are having a hard time or are struggling and are facing a bit of an addiction, utilize those resources. They're there for a reason. They're not there to make fun of you. They're not there to make you look bad or anything like that. They're there to help you so that way you don't put yourself in a really bad situation and or your family in a really bad situation. It's important to me to tell you that because having people that I know who have been in situations of addiction and stuff like that, it's, you know, Gamla could take on that same thing for you. And it's really important that you make sure that you keep in mind what you're doing, you keep in mind how you're doing it, and you just, again, stay within your means. It's the biggest thing I can tell you as somebody who cares, because I don't want to see anybody I don't want to see anybody struggle. That's not the way life is meant to be. It's not the way that we should have to have it. So, um, with that said, I thank y'all for tuning in. Though again, I know I just did this before we did the Take 10, but I genuinely mean it. It's been a really fun season, or preview season, anyways, which has been really fun. The conference previews have been really fun. Now it's time to get rolling, and now it's time to really hammer down on the regular season. I'm so excited. Tomorrow's going to be a great day. Week 0 is here. Make sure you stick around. Make sure you tune in tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. We will be live right here on this channel. And, yeah, with all that said, thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day. And we will see you all tomorrow again. Week 0 is finally here.